Welcome to the channel, viewers. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. We're on the move. I just want to share a little bit about covert emotional incest and the sickness and damage and the mental torture that it brings and is. It's a horrible situation for people to find themselves in. Particularly the people in it. You coming into that environment's another thing, but the people in it, you'll have a parent that's been completely abused and used by the other parent. The relationship's disintegrated consequently as a result of that. Then you've got these children that have been on the back of all this abuse and sadness and alcoholism and dope and drugs and recreational drugs and just a horrible toxic environment that, children should have a better opportunity to grow up in than that, excuse me. So what you're going to have is narcissistic tendencies, infantile mentality. There'll be people putting on silent treatment, arguing, abusing on the other hand. And this all causes mind damage. It brings sicknesses like cancer, mental health issues to boot. And these people just don't seem to come to a point where they go, we've got to change. I don't want to do this anymore. Or they'll do that, but it'll only be partial. It'll be to the exclusion of the other person that's causing the trouble. They'll get rid of that person, which is fair enough too. But that doesn't fix their habits. Their habits could be, immaturity. A lot of these people that are in enmeshment situations have gotten there because of immaturity in the first place. Sorry, viewers. Sorry about that. Because of immaturity in the first place. And so you've got all these dysfunctions going on, and they're trying to cope with it all with drugs and medicines, and their sicknesses are getting deeper and more variable, and they're just adding to it. There's more sicknesses coming up. And you come into this situation and they see a shining light. Now, at first, that gives these people a glimmer of hope. They see hope for themselves, possibly hope for their children or something of this nature. But whatever the case is, they see hope. And the problem with it is they become tribal. And the domestic formation that these people have created by nature is hostile towards outsiders. So when one of these people get a partner and it looks like this partner is going to be a asset, and the other people in the family are going, hang on a sec, this could be a challenging situation for us, in the sense that whoever it is might stay with this person and develop and grow out of the darkness. This can begin to cause narcissistic collapse, psychological breakdown in the people that have been led to believe that that's the way to live. Now all of a sudden you've got these family members that are trying to escape the cursed way in which this family's developed and formed, all under the guise of martyrdom and we're victims and we're supposed to be this way. This is my sickness. This is my mental health problem. This is all this negative. They own their dysfunction and they share it all, and they run to the rescue of each other to feed it, not to fix it. And when you come into this place, they see this shining light. Well, that's all wonderful at first. All of a sudden there's power and this energy and vibration. But the vibration only works to the person that it's attached to. that you're there for. The other people, they're going to start to freak out, man. They're going to start to fall to pieces because they're going to feel left out. The person that they're in the enmeshment with, the adult or the child, now has a different energy. Their energy is shifted away from the family member toward the partner. But not without conflict. Oh boy, deep inside they've got a loyalty bind or disloyalty bind, I forget which one it is, which is causing them conflict. They don't know which way to turn at different points, and so what happens is they start this relationship and go into it at the physical level, but then pull back at the emotional level and live the emotional level out with the family member in the enmeshment. So now we've got a partner that's being used physically but starved emotionally. And it doesn't take very long for these outsiders to go, hang on a sec, and I've asked several of these mothers that I've ended up with this question, who are you talking to? Like, where is your emotional life? Because it's not with me. And it is horrible. It's really, really horrible. I don't know how you explain it. It's just this void, this horrible empty void that you get stuck with. And they hold you, they try and hold you, but they're really only filling up themselves by way of sex. So they're coming and going and getting the sex and all the rest of it. But the intimate side of it's completely void. The emotional side of it's completely void. It's void of substance. So what you have is what's called somatic narcissism. These people pride themselves on their physical features and sexual capabilities to hold people captive only at the physical level. They do not want the emotional level. They don't want it. And this is conflictive for the normal, mature person that's trying to have a proper relationship, because the narcissist is very infantile. These covert emotional narcissists are very infantile, and they'll push boundaries as far as they can to try and see what they can get away with and what they can't. And this is what undermines their relationships and brings them into the devalue stage, because if they're with, say, a weaker person, and the person's just going along with the chaos, the pulling back and the emotional starvation, and they're aware of the fact that the parent and the child are really close, be it adult, parent, child, are really close, and they're starting to wonder, well, they're closer than what we are, but I'm sleeping with this person. It's the most horrible, painful thing you could be confronted with, because you're giving yourself over intimately on the physical level, but the intimate emotional level is not being shared with you. It's being shared inside the enmeshment. So really, you're just being used. You're just being used by this person. And it's somatic. They're using you on the prowess and their confidence of their physical and sexual attributes. And I tell you what, it's damaging and it's dangerous, because you're having the life siphoned out of you. They're wasting what you give them because they don't know how to do anything that's going to build anything. They don't build, they live for the moment. That's why these people will have several people in the background. They'll be talking to other people. They know that you're not going to tolerate at this point, if you're a stronger person and know, you've had enough life experience to realise what's right and what's wrong. These people, you won't know it, but they'll be talking to other people outside the relationship and have them on standby in a roundabout way, in a covert way. The people won't even know that they're talking to, that they're lining them up if things go wrong to replace you with. And in some cases, they all might already be in bed with them. They're liars, they're cheaters, they're schemers and they're deceivers. They're selfish, they're infantile, and they just don't resolve. They just will not resolve. And that's the part that causes the brain damage and the trauma on the people that they get involved with. And it can take months and years, if you're lucky, for this abuse, because it's toxic, high-level toxic abuse, to go away. And if you're not educated on these things, luckily I was educated way back when I did my doctorate on all this stuff, psychology and stuff, with the theology. If you don't know what's going on, these people can leave you shipwrecked and marooned, and you might never ever recover. I know of a boyfriend's mum of my oldest daughter that she had. His mother never recovered from the narcissistic abuse that was put on her by the man that she was with that abandoned her. She never come good. She ended up in a mental home. Some people die of cancer and other forms of illness from the stress and the abuse and the toxicity of the way in which these things rob you of the emotional side of the relationship. You're just being abused. And so when you've got a covert emotional incest situation going on, and one of the children, adult children, or both of them, are narcissistic, and they've started their act in opposition to the relationship, and they start going into their narcissistic collapse and injury from the fact that the person they're enmeshed with has actually or is interested in somebody besides them. This is how bad it gets. They actually have go into severe narcissistic trauma and injury and collapse, psychological collapse, because they're so used to getting their own way. Usually the golden child is somebody that's been grandized beyond rationale. They've been, manipulated and abused by the parent into thinking there's something more grandiose than what they really are. These are the types where you'll sit down to have fish and chips for dinner and they have to have lobster. I mean, I have seen every grandiose scenario that these narcs can bung on. And that narc will work in the background through the person that you're with to get at you. Because if the person that you're with isn't resolving the issue, and usually they won't because they're so enmeshed and so infantile, the narc that's causing the trouble will get at you through that person that you're with. They'll keep their little performance going in the background, and this will isolate you from 50% of the person that you're with's life. Now you've got to stop and ask yourself, why isn't the person resolving the issue if you're so important? Well, you're not that important. You're just a source of supply. They've got other people they can turn to, and they will if you tell them to go. What you've got to realize is narcissists don't normally stop the relationship because they want your supply. So they'll have 3 or 4 irons in the fire, and you might be the primary source of supply, So while they got the little adult infantile narc working in the background to keep you away, they could have 2 or 3 other supplies running in the background that you'll never be aware of. This is how dark spiritually this is. They're tacticians. They're evil, and they're determined to be evil, and there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to walk away. Once you're aware of how these people are colluding to use you to their advantage, right? You've got to walk away, because they're going to drug themselves to death. They're going to use whoever they can get their hands on for as long as they can. They're all going to turn on each other in cycles, and everyone's going to hate each other and then love each other. And they got no stability, they got no consistency, and the only congruency they've got is between themselves and their drugs and their victim mentality. The rest of it is just going to work to get the money to pay for the drugs and to pay for the rent and shit like that, and food. I've felt this trauma. I know how bad it is. It doesn't matter how tolerant you are or how hard you try. These people don't change. They're not capable of change. They don't want to change. They like the way they are. They like their enmeshment. And they're going to die in it. It's as simple as that. That's just how it works. Don't you. You remove yourself. Bring your energy back to yourself. Don't engage any of their trouble. And time will bring you back out of that darkness. And you just want to hope that you heal sooner rather than later. I hope this helps. That's how emotional incest can work in layers. They'll suck you in. These people are collaborating and colluding together. They'll suck the outsider in, and then set up a situation where they get as much time as they can get together in the family, and then use you only as a source of sex or some kind of supply. Other than that, they don't want to know you. They've got their drugs, they've got their other things they're interested in. They don't know how to build a proper relationship. Well, you might say, well, they were married. It doesn't mean anything. If you could have been a fly on the wall and seen how miserable these people are in their marriages, you'd go, uh-oh, I didn't look at it that way. That's exactly right. You didn't look at it the way that you needed to. And that's why it ended up the way it did. Their marriage and your relationship. Only you were smart enough not to stick around longer than you should have. Hope that helps. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Bye for now.